Personally, I went pretty far down that road as an elite amateur. I don't regret it at all, but I'm also happy that I did invest a little bit of time elsewhere so that I would have a really good exit ramp that I was passionate about. So one of the many wonderful things about boxing is that it is financially accessible to so many people, especially youths. And the equipment that you need when you first start out isn't super expensive. A lot of times in gyms, it's kind of gross, but it's shared. And if you're a kid, it's okay. You have a great immune system. While boxing does not need to be an expensive endeavor, especially if you're doing it recreationally, if you are trying to go pro or to become an elite amateur, you should anticipate a lot of startup costs. In this episode of FightCamp 360, I'm gonna talk about, from personal experience, how much it costs to become a boxer, the money associated, the time associated, and the energy associated with reaching the next level in boxing. Let's just talk about the actual hard dollars involved. A gym membership can often be free if you're in the right circumstances, but even then it doesn't get too expensive. A good pair of boxing gloves that you can use for training and sparring can be somewhere just a little over $100 to up to $500 for the best stuff. Wraps are cheap, 10 to 20 bucks. Boxing shoes, let's say 100 bucks. Average cost of membership, if you are paying that membership at the gym, it depends on where it is. It could be 80 bucks a month, 150 bucks a month max. If you're gonna start competing as an amateur, you're gonna have to pay for your Passbook, which is your boxing license. That could be anywhere between $80 to $100, and it includes insurance. Same thing with the boxing license, but it really varies by state. Once you're licensed and ready to compete, expect to start incurring the costs of personalized training and building your brand and managing your business. Now, of course, all these things are choices. You don't have to invest in nutrition. You don't have to build your brand. You don't have to invest in any of these things. But if you do, you're also not gonna get that long-term ROI. First of all, nutrition, food. This can be very expensive. You can't be eating at McDonald's if you wanna be an elite athlete. You have to buy the very best food. And also, the very best supplements really help you take things to a whole nother level. This gets very expensive, as I'm sure you know. Another one of the costs that you'll start to incur, things like physical therapy. So sports injuries are very common, but for pro athletes and elite amateurs, you really need somebody working with you, helping you stay mobile and flexible and helping you heal injuries over time. Another cost, especially in amateur boxing, this really hurts, right? Because you're not making a lot of money from your fights. Travel. You could have local fights, you still have to drive to them. Right? If you want to get to the next level, you got to hop on a plane, you need a hotel. It gets expensive. You're talking thousands and thousands of dollars every year from something that's not giving you money back in return, all for the dream of hopefully maybe being an Olympian if you're an amateur, or signing a great professional deal so that you can start to actually make some money down the road. So it's a risk and it's an investment for sure. Now keep in mind that if you do turn professional, you will start to be able to have a return on your investment. You will start to be able to make some money. There's three main ways that boxers will earn money. Number one is obvious, you get paid for your fights. Now when you first start out, unless you were an elite amateur and you have an Olympic gold medal or something like that, you're not getting paid a lot for these fights. You're talking $2,000, $3,000, $4,000. You might fight, if you're lucky, 6, 7, 8 times in a year would be a lot. So that is not a fortune. That's number one of the ways that you get paid. Another way that you can get paid when you first start to turn professional is through your promoter, your manager, whoever that may be, might pay you a small stipend, salary. But this is what I want to warn all you boxers out there. A lot of times you get these stipends when you first turn pro and you think it's free money. You better believe that down the road when you start making money in your fights, they're gonna take that back, maybe with some interest. So watch who you sign with. And the third way that boxers will make money is that you can go out and you can find sponsors. This is very difficult to do when you're not as notable, very difficult to do when you're not fighting on TV and things like that, but it is a good revenue stream for fighters. All right, so the early road, when you first turn professional, it's tough. There's not a lot of money to be had, as we said. Boxing's like that. The money is not spread out evenly in any way. There's no minimum salary cap like there is in other professional sports. It is the free market gone wild. When you're at the bottom, you make next to nothing. When you're at the top, you make everything. Floyd Mayweather, the boxer who's earned the most, he's earned over $1 billion in his career. For his one fight with Manny Pacquiao, he earned $275 million for that one fight. According to World Boxing News, the average annual salary for a pro boxer is only $35,000. So everything that they get from sponsorships, prize money, all that stuff, $35,000 is what they have to live on. That is extremely tough. And for that reason, it's not at all uncommon for a professional boxer to have a second job or work outside of their boxing career. Jobs like construction and things like that, it's tough. So that covers the hard money side of things. But if you ask me, the largest cost associated with reaching any level of success in boxing is the time, sacrifice, and dedication you have to put in. In business, we call this opportunity cost. So all those days you spent in the gym, you spent on the road running, traveling to different fights, preparing your meals, that's time that could have been spent elsewhere. Maybe in college, maybe building a career elsewhere. So time is definitely, if you ask me, the biggest cost. While boxing training can be done to fit your everyday schedule, of course, we offer that at FightCamp. If you want to be a hardcore professional boxer, this is an everyday, multiple times per day thing. Somebody like Mike Tyson was known to be physically training 60 hours per week, which is insane when you think about it. Now, it's this kind of time commitment that yields the best results in boxing. You have to be able to put in that time, put up that opportunity cost, sacrifice other things if you want to make it. Now, physical training is only a part of that picture. Professional fighters are also making time for meal planning, active recovery, doing all these things. It's a huge time commitment. Fight camps in preparation for an upcoming match can last anywhere between 6 to 12 weeks, in which you will eat, sleep, and breathe boxing only. Fighters with families and wives, very often it's a smart strategy to completely abandon that part of your life temporarily so that you could focus entirely on the success of your fight. Now, I'll speak for myself personally. I reached a fairly high level in amateur boxing to where I was on the US national team. I was ranked number 2 going into the 2012 Olympic trials and all that, and competed on the national team for several years. And what did that look like for me? Well, my entire adolescence, I really didn't have too much of a life. What my life looked like as a kid wasn't having a ton of fun. It was going to school, going to the gym, going to school, going to the gym, going to the gym again, sleeping, only doing that all throughout high school and college as well. So that time commitment that we talked about brings us to the biggest cost of being a boxer, your mental and emotional energy. So boxing training is a lifestyle that anyone can adopt. But if your goal is to be a contender, it can become the focal point of your life, an obsession. You're gonna need to learn to maximize the time you do get with loved ones, prioritize self-care, and recognize the signs of burnout if you are experiencing them. All athletes, boxers included, they really don't tend to compete long past their 30s. So you really need to take this into consideration, or at least I think you should. I ultimately decided that I wanted at first to invest a little bit in my education so that I had an exit ramp. But longer term, I decided after the Olympic trials to actually take that exit ramp and pursue a career in business rather than a career in boxing. And I think that's the kind of thing that a lot of fighters should do, is find other passions, invest in them as well, just in case, you want to be able to have other skills and do other things with your life. Because even if you do become the champion of the world, you have a long life ahead of you and you want to be able to compete and win forever. That's how you keep that motivation in life, and that's how you remain happy. All right, to sum it up, what are the costs to becoming a successful boxer, let's say, either an elite amateur or a professional boxer? Well, they're immeasurable, I would say, and they're also very personal. You have money costs that we talked about, you have that opportunity cost of the time spent, and you have that sacrifice of the energy that you spend. Those are all the things you need to weigh before you make that decision to go down that road. Personally, I went pretty far down that road as an elite amateur. I don't regret it at all, but I'm also happy that I did invest a little bit of time elsewhere so that I would have a really good exit ramp that I was passionate about. Look at this kid, Ryan Garcia, and some of these other younger kids as a model of how to invest some time in building your personal brand. That's something that for him will carry him not just through his boxing career, but also outside of his boxing career if and when he does decide to part ways with the sport of boxing. All right, my name is Tommy Duquette. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode of FightCamp 360. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe to our channel. I will see you next time.